Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Assisted Living Locators Community Corner, where we help to connect seniors across the state of New Hampshire with the supports and services they need.
Today, we welcome Heather Stickney from the Arbors of Bedford. Thanks for joining us today, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me, Glenn and Christy. We really appreciate everything that you do for the families in New Hampshire, and we're grateful to be partners with you in this support of what seniors may need, because it's an ever-changing landscape for sure. So I actually currently work at Benchmark Senior Living, and I work for our community called the Arbors of Bedford, which is in Bedford, New Hampshire. It's an all memory care community, which is a really beautiful community for residents who have all types of dementia and Alzheimer's. So we really have the full continuum of care. I would say one of my most favorite things is that we really spend a lot of time getting to know the families and getting to know the residents and what the resident loves to do, or even what the resident used to love to do but maybe can't express that they love to do anymore. So that's really, I think, where the gold is really identifying and connecting our residents with their sense of purpose. And those are the stories that bring tears to my eyes, good tears, right? And I can think of a few right off the top of my head. And we really are blessed to be able to have residents who are still very highly functioning. Some of them believe they're volunteering with us and that they work with us, to residents who are really towards the end of their dementia journey or Alzheimer's journey, and they're at the end of their life, and they're able to stay with us and remain with us with either additional hospice services or just family support. So that's a really beautiful kind of peace of mind for families in the New Hampshire area, that we've specialized in memory care only. We were built by a man who built the community for his mother who had dementia. So all of the details, all of the little thoughts of what somebody may need. It's about anticipating their needs in a lot of ways. When residents with Alzheimer's and dementia they lose their own voice and they're not able to speak for themselves. So that provides us and our caregivers the opportunity to really lean in and become almost like private investigators of that person, like, what's really happening here? Is that person really having a behavior, or do they have some unmet need that we haven't yet identified? Or maybe they just don't want chocolate ice cream today. I mean, I want chocolate ice cream every day, but so that's a little bit about our community. And I would say that for the last 21 years, we have been specializing in memory care only at the Arbors of Bedford. And the Arbors is part of the Benchmark community overall. Benchmark is the largest provider of assisted living in the New England area. We have 62 communities, some of which are traditional assisted living, some of which marry traditional assisted living and memory care. We do have a couple of continuing care retirement communities that are in our company, which really is from independent living to skilled nursing. So we really pride ourselves on being the senior living experts in our area. So it's really beautiful to be part of a team of people that are dedicated to enhancing the lives of seniors in whatever way we can.
Absolutely. I think from our perspective, we deal with a lot of different communities all across the state, different sizes, different ownership groups. What I personally love most about working with Benchmark is your New England roots, your ability to fill a niche that some other communities can't. And I feel like that's not only because of the various types of communities that you offer, all the way through from the CCRCs straight through true memory care like you do, but also the fact that because Benchmark is such a large corporation and you have such a big footprint, you're able to leverage a lot of those things that the bigger companies can, with training, with equipment, with resources, with being able to find a way to kind of walk that line and connect with a resident. And I think those are things that smaller communities don't always have the access to, but you also have stayed grounded in those New England roots, and it's not some West Coast conglomerate or an outside operation group. It really, it speaks to us personally that part of your email signature is Benchmark quality, and I think that speaks to a lot of families across New England.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Glenn. You know, we do have the support of a large corporation. However, we are all New England based, and that is really by design. Our owner and CEO, you know, really has done that by design, and he wants that to be who we are. And so, you know, we're truly better together. It's one of our core values. Be the benchmark, better together, and called to care. And we really do, as an organization, live those values, not just in our communities in general, but in our communities at large. So, you know, we're constantly looking at ways of bringing education to groups of people. So that's a big part of my role as one of the directors of community relations, is to be a kind of a bridge between the community at large and our community. And not to say that everyone is the right fit for our community, because they may not be, but to be able to be a resource for families who maybe just got a diagnosis and they don't know what the first step is. If you're not in this world, we don't make it easy as an industry. You know, every state has different regulations, everything is really different. So every company manages things on a different way. So, you know, I always think about that family that maybe doesn't have the first idea if their loved one has anything put into place for themselves, and then they have a crisis. Right? And then all of a sudden they're tasked with becoming an expert on what to do for mom and dad. You know, so a big part of my role is to really bring education out to the community at large. I do a lot of educational series with the local senior centers. We do a dementia versus natural aging, which is a beautiful class that we offer. And, you know, we're constantly trying to educate people that, you know, sometimes when they get that diagnosis, it can either shut them down, or it's an opportunity to really learn how they can keep their loved ones safe and at home for as long as possible, if that's the right thing, or what some alternatives might be. And that to me is just really connecting the people, and that's a lot of what the two of you do, which is such a beautiful thing, you know, learning really what a family might need, and then connecting them to the right people and places, which is, you know, so beautiful.
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you a little plug that you probably weren't expecting. But one of the things that I love about you specifically, Heather, and I know that this is encouraged by the rest of the team at the Arbors, Paula and everyone, and Benchmark, you really truly believe in reaching out and helping the individual regardless of what the outcome of that is. And what I mean by that is, on multiple occasions, you have been kind enough to connect with me for clients that weren't even appropriate for your community for whatever reason, but needed supports, to offer yourself up as a resource for those families, just to call and ask a question. And that speaks volumes to your serving and caring heart and Benchmark. And as a matter of fact, the reason that we wanted to have you be the first interview on our little community corner here was because you had reached out with a wonderful virtual support group that you're kind of spearheading through the Arbors, designed to allow caregivers to be able to still connect with you and some supports while they're at home. We'd love to learn a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Glenn. Thank you for that compliment. It's really, truly in my heart. And, you know, I feel so grateful to be able to work for an organization that sees that and recognizes that human connection is really, truly what it's all about. So through that, and we have been running a caregiver support group the second Saturday of every month for probably close to 10 years. And it's a very dynamic, it might even be longer than that. It's a very dynamic group of people that come, and it's folks who are caregivers for people who have loved ones still at home. It encompasses folks who are caregivers for a loved one in a community, not necessarily the Arbors. It also encompasses folks that have a loved one who's already passed on. So there's those varying degrees of what it truly means to be a caregiver. And it really, the group is very diverse and dynamic, and is very, very supportive. So we're still having those support groups. So that's the second Saturday of every month at 11:30. And those, we're just moving them virtually at this point.
Awesome.
So we're offering the virtual support group on Saturdays, and then also Wednesdays and Fridays each week, we've opened up a virtual support group that is very sweet. And sometimes we have 3 people, and sometimes we have 12 people. And it's really for the community at large. Often we don't know that we need support, and we may be new to this caregiver role. A lot of our worlds have changed quite a bit recently. And in this new climate, we just wanted to make sure that caregivers could feel that they weren't alone. This isolation that happens can happen for loved ones, especially who are navigating dementia and the varying stages of dementia. And that can be truly just exhausting for caregivers. And now that we're in this environment of change, right, and we maybe have disrupted some of our routines, it was really clear to me that having multiple times a week, and at 2 different times we're offering them for loved ones, just to support. They might come and not say anything, but just to know that they're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing, because if it's you and your loved one, and it's just the 2 of you, and it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that routine has maybe been disrupted, it can really throw somebody off. I think that's one of the things that is really most successful about when a resident does, or a loved one does, move into a community, is the consistency of a routine. And having that, there's been a wrench thrown in the routine wheel. So we wanted to offer that as a platform for family members and loved ones to come together, ask questions of each other. So the support group is Wednesdays from 11 to 12:30, or Fridays from 1 to 2:30. So and then we also have continuing to have that second Saturday. So I wanted to offer times that wasn't in the evening, because I find that evening times, when you're navigating someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, can be really challenging because of what we consider sundowning. So we've had some very sweet things come out of this virtual platform. We are doing them on Zoom, which offers a way to connect visually if you have a computer or a smartphone, but also there's a phone number that you can just call in. So even if you don't have the technology of a computer or an iPad or an iPhone or a smartphone, you have the ability to connect to this group. And so it feels very inclusive to me. And yeah, there's been very sweet suggestions that have come to light through this. We're getting creative, working on some projects with someone who has their mom at home. Giving her some tools of how to make her mom recognize that there is a routine still. So it's been a nice disruption in that feeling of isolation. Because when you're in it and you're living it every day, you can really lose touch with the fact that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
So important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
So
what
folks go ahead.
I just love that people are open, free and open to come as they are. I had a woman come the other day, and because she's not able to do her hair, she had her hair all done and had the dye in her hair, and she was and she still came on and let us see her video. So it's a really authentic group of people, and I think that there's so much of that humanness that we're missing right now, of that human contact and being able to even be with some of our loved ones, for caregivers who maybe are at a place where they have their loved one in a community and they're not able to physically go and be with that person right now. So again, that was another reason for the real call to put this forth.
That's awesome. I've had the privilege myself of being in a support group, a caregiver support group for dementia patients, about a year ago now, and it was for one of the caregivers that day was the first time that her husband had ever forgotten her name. And I will never forget being in that room. She was surrounded by people that she'd been spending a year with at that point, that she'd been coming to that group. I can't imagine what her life is like if she didn't have that support group accessible to her that day. It was huge to be able to get past that moment. So God love you for what you're doing. I think it's absolutely critical. Christy and I love it, especially where it's virtually. It's now it's statewide. It's an amazing way for families to be able to connect during the times that you're offering it. So thank you for doing that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm open to suggestions too. If there's groups of people out there that feel like those times don't work, I'm open to some evening times. I'm open to morning times. I just feel like any way that we can connect and help support each other through this journey, because definitely having Alzheimer's and dementia is a journey. And every day is different, and there are some blessings there, and there are some silver linings of how to really live in the moment, which I think that we're having an opportunity to look at how to do that a little bit more these days as a general culture, but there really is a lot that we can do just by coming together and supporting one another.
Absolutely. So folks can obviously reach out to us at the phone number I'm hiding with my head if they have any questions. But if someone wants to either learn more about the Arbors and what you folks offer, or wants to connect with you for the caregiver support, we'll put a link in the comments section of the video. But what's the best way to get a hold of you, Heather, if folks are looking to connect?
Yeah, my best way of getting in touch with me is my cell phone number. That cell phone number is 603-703-6559. Or my email, which is hstickney@benchmarkquality.com. And I am on both of those pretty much all day, every day.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and I want to thank you so much for having me on. And I look forward to the great things to come and in our professional partnership. And, we really appreciate the work that you're doing out there with families as well.
Same here. Thank you. We appreciate you taking the time for us.
Absolutely. Anytime.
You have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.